Hello, my name is Pew Pew Choo Choo, and welcome to our introductory AAR to Command Ops Battles from the Bulge. We'll be playing a fictional scenario where the majority of the German panzer divisions are essentially trapped around the area around Bastogne. Our objective as the 4th Armored Division is to close their last supply route by advancing to St. Vith. You'll see here that I've given us a time frame for the various different objectives inside this 5-day battle. First, let's focus on the first day. We'll need to get armored troops to St. Vith as fast as possible, seeing as how the Germans will inevitably respond to our little incursion. Our first objective is to take the bridge protected by Volksgrenadier infantry, and then afterwards our objective will be to take the first town in our way, protected again by Volksgrenadier infantry, however this time with heavy weapons. Command Ops is a rather unique wargame in the sense that it's real-time, and it uses a rather unique mission issuing system where we, the player, essentially commands 2 levels down. While we are technically in charge of the division, I will be assigning various different missions to various different task forces and battalions of units. For the first little bit here, familiarize myself with the various different units we command. Largely it's, the standard American issue, M1 Garand, half-tracks, Stuart, Sherman tanks, and of course priests. Now that that is out of the way, let's issue a few attack orders to the various different battalions under our command. We'll let the battalion leaders pick out the route of advance. I'm going to order my infantry here, located inside the woods, to advance safely. However, I'll keep their aggression and rate of fire at maximum, so they will try to engage their enemies in close combat. Likewise, I'm going to get the armed mechanized infantry to do exactly the same thing. Our objective is to send the infantry in first to secure our side of the little river here, and I'm going to get the tanks here to advance onto the Overwatch hill so then they can provide Overwatch fire for us. Currently it's 6 AM on the starting day. I suspect that the infantry will need about an hour to fully clear the infantry on our side, so we will delay the tanks' advance for about 30 minutes. And after that's done, we might as well schedule a few artillery bombardments on the fully strength infantry represented by the gray icons with the little green boxes on the corner of them. Now that our plans are set, I will start the game clock. You'll see that our units retain most of their autonomy. Our infantry leaders have already picked out their routes of advance and will commit to those. The game's units are largely abstracted. You may notice that when the troops fire, the little blue light comes on at the bottom of the counters. Likewise, when they are getting suppressed, the little light will become yellow, and when they take casualties, the light will become red. I've set the counters to display the route status of the various different units inside the top little right-hand corner. Instead of displaying their strength, now they display the units' route status. Generally speaking, a green arrow is best. I see some units moving on the opposite side of the river. Like I said earlier, the Volksgrenadiers there may have heavy weapons, including mortars or heavy infantry guns or AT guns and stuff and such like that, so I've decided to use my artillery to bombard those locations to suppress their heavy weapons. Well, it looks like the first part of our assault is over. It looks like we've hit the enemy hard. Our units didn't start at full capacity, so that would explain why they did not have full strength, indicated by the strength counters. However, it looks like we have done massive damage to the enemy's units. I see some artillery pieces, or rather AT guns in place near the bottom of the little valley here. So I'm going to try to clear some of that out with artillery. One of the things that we might find useful to know is that these PAC 40s actually have a deployment requirement to be able to fire. So now that we've essentially dug them out of their deployment locations, they shouldn't be all too much threatening now, so long as we can keep continuous fire on them. Later on, when most of the bridgehead defenders have been routed into the forest, we deploy our troops once again and advance onto the village. We're going to keep our tanks on Overwatch Hill for now. Later on, however, as soon as we've determined what exactly the enemy forces have inside the village, we may decide to either use these armored forces to exploit our advances, as in advance up these two roads and into the rear of the main German positions at Bastogne, or in the event that there are heavy enemy forces inside the little village here, we may decide to use them as reserve troops for that. Another action we'll be doing is moving up our priests to Overwatch Hill. From there, they will be able to provide fire support by direct fire support or indirect fire support. Now that that's that, we need to, schedule a few more operations. First and foremost, I'll get our mechanized infantry to assault the village, and I'll get the 318th Infantry to reassemble themselves and provide us security on our right flank by hopefully annihilating whatever units have routed into the forest. The AI for the infantry battalion has picked a rather odd place to assemble his troops, but that should be alright. Here I take a look at the various different statistics of our units. We're good on supply, our units are losing a little bit of cohesion, and they are a little bit fatigued, although not as much as the German troops. Measure line of sight to the various different enemy units from the Overwatch Hill location. It doesn't look like there will be very heavy fighting inside the village itself. It looks like the main source of our problems come from the fleeing infantry, which are now reformed and taking pot shots at our mechanized unit there. The units in the forest seem to have a anti-tank gun position set up. Let's see if our infantry will be able to clear them out. Well, it looks like our infantry should be able to deal with that. I'm going to send our armored units up along the main road to go and exploit our breakthrough here near this bridgehead. Here you can see our mechanized infantry fighting the enemy inside ambush range. Note the innermost green circle. Inside this particular zone, units use 100% of their weapons. Thus, everything counts. We've skipped ahead to the first nightfall. There's still a little bit of infantry clustered around the village. But for the most part, the village is actually secure, so is the bridgehead, as you may have noticed. The indicators for the objectives have turned green. Our troops are currently in the progress of wiping out whatever is left of the enemy's resistance. In addition, our 35th Armored Battalion is making quite good progress onto the second objective, or rather second line of objectives, which is the road junction. Another thing that I have done is that I have moved my command post up along with our FOB and our anti-air assets. I've moved my supply division, or supply detachment, to the bridgehead now, so we should be able to resupply a little bit faster, and in general, occupying these victory locations do give us a little bit of victory points throughout the game, so it will be very useful to just use these non-combat units to occupy what I would consider to be safe ground. Later on during the night, while our units were sleeping, it looks like the scattered, or rather remnants of the Volksgrenadiers were able to form up and attack our command post located in the Loreswimmer town. If we don't clear up these remnant units, they'll be a pain in the butt for us. They'll try to interdict our supply routes, and they'll actually, harass our rear end units, such as this. It is thus why it is important to get rid of these, and I've ordered our mechanized infantry along with our regular infantry to actually enclose upon these two units. Another big reason is that throughout the 3 days in which we commit to our offensive, we'll be gradually getting more and more troops in the form of reinforcements. As you may have noticed, it's very time-consuming to clear out units from these locations simply due to the overall weather and the overall terrain, right? With this keeping in mind, it'd be better to keep these routes open for reinforcements streaming from the corner of the map into the front lines. In the meantime, our armored units on the front line are launching an offensive, hopefully the one that will drive us into St. Vith. In the rear, our units are finally closing the gap onto this group of Volksgrenadiers. Hopefully this will be able to eliminate every single unit trapped inside this little gap. The second day ends on a pretty good high note. The reinforcements were able to successfully move up to the Crossroads victory location, and the majority of the remnants are now destroyed. We've established another command location in the junction, and during the night our units were able to probe out St. Vith, and we've actually located the enemy's forward operating base. Unfortunately, it was occupied by about 200 to 300 units, so we weren't able to assault it. During the nighttime, units really enjoyed the resting task, so we weren't able to give orders to commit to a night raid. At this point, I checked my units' capabilities once again. Our units, for the most part, are cohesive, so they'll be able to function well as a group. They have decent ammunition. Their fatigue levels are obviously dropping because of the rest they've had. In the nighttime, we could, in theory, prevent the enemy from resting and regaining cohesion and fatigue by dropping a few artillery rounds on them. You'll see that the majority of my units on the front line have full ammunition, full fuel, full morale, full cohesion, full fatigue, while in the back here we have some of the spent units that were initially used to break into this location, into the bridgehead, who are a little bit spent now. As dawn approaches, our troops moving up the road into St. Vith are engaged by a few enemy troops located inside this forest here. I'm more concerned in hunkering down inside the town more than anything at this point, simply because right now the German Panzer Division should be coming from the western side of the map any minute now. We start to see Kampfgruppe Piper advancing onto St. Vith near noon. They'll be armed with heavy Panther and Tiger tanks, so we will definitely need to bunker down inside the village and really ambush those tanks to effectively destroy them. Our plan for now is relatively simple. We'll maintain a rather mobile force in the rear of our column here to provide flank security, while we will pour our units into St. Vith to hold it. In the meantime, we'll be dropping quite a lot of artillery onto the enemy to destroy their cohesion. I want to separate their engineers and their infantry from their tanks. If their infantry and their engineers cannot move up, they will not be able to siege the little town / city here no matter what. As it comes closer to night, we find the startling realization that our supply trucks are not able to successfully resupply our troops located within St. Vith. though the terrain works in our favor, as in the roads here are located behind this little hill, which prevents enemy observation, I still am unable to fully supply the troops located inside the town here. This might be a problem in the future, although I would imagine that our troops have enough supplies and bodies to be able to hold the town for another day. Near dawn, we see that the Germans are trying to push up along the old routes again. But in addition to that, they've sent some troops south in efforts to try to break through one of our weaker points. Later on, we see one or two German detachments try to push upon the various other victory locations. St. Vith is actually worth about 2 of the other ones, so long as we retain the actual city itself, everything should be fine. The day ends with the Germans advancing awfully close to the actual city itself with a few of their tanks, but more notably a few of their infantry. While we are starting to run out of ammunition inside the actual city itself, we can employ a rotational system. Some of the units actually still have full ammunition, so they will be rotated forward, and the units who cannot fully resupply will be hopefully sent back under the cover of darkness to our ammunition supplies further south. In the end, 4th Armored Division was able to not only successfully hold these positions, but also inflict a staggeringly high amount of casualties on the Axis forces, despite only suffering a small fraction of its own. More notably, the enemy's tanks have been almost completely devastated. This is Pew Pew Choo Choo. I hope you guys really enjoyed this AAR as much as I did. Be sure to like and subscribe, and come back for more, I guess. See you guys then next time.